All right, peeps, we are back. It is a new episode of Hot Take Wrestling. I am your boy, Thousandaire Playboy, Old Man Logan. Feeling a lot better than I was the other day when I did Boulevard Ave, but we are here with my boy KG, getting it started. We're gonna do our best Y2J and KO rendition. Any other just like odd pairings that you can think of that were uber popular during the last 15 years of wrestling. And yeah, man, he's looking serious right now. I'm acting a little bit silly, but we're gonna have a good time. KG, hold on, I got you.
It's the ginger whiskey assassin, the other KG. Hashtag y'all gotta chill.
KG, talk to the people.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just happy that Triple H didn't pull a version of his father-in-law and just leave everybody stranded in Saudi Arabia while he was on a private jet on the way home.
Wasn't the pay-per-view still going on too when he did that?
I cannot remember. You might be accurate about that. I was just like, damn, y'all out there. Y'all stranded.
Stranded, bro. That was crazy. That was crazy. Was that the first one? Was that the very first, like inaugural?
It was something about the contract dispute or something about the money they was owed, the exchange, and then I just know a lot of people was like understandably so not happy. And yeah, it was during a time where it's like, in certain parts, it's still not necessarily safe over there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was during the time when stuff was being heightened again too, though. Like,
yeah. And then I'm surprised they don't have something in the contract where they're like, hey, look, when it's a little volatile over there and there's things going on, y'all, we gotta reconvene.
Yeah, nah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, let me go ahead and get my intro out of the way.
It's Big Oos, Old Man Logan, acknowledging.
All right, y'all. Once again, Thousandaire Playboy, Old Man Logan. Okay, that's the new mock year. Like the bloodline thing, we done. It's over. It's ran its course. But yeah, so that's what you have to look forward to now, for sure. But welcome to Hot Take Wrestling. We're going to continue our conversation, and man, KG, where do you want to start, brother? Do you want to do your? Well, I guess it would be fair to just start with the weekly recap and then go into our wrestlers of the week from there. That makes a little more sense, right?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into it.
And now your week in review.
All right, KG, talk to the people. Let them know what's happening in this past week of wrestling. This week,
so I mean, I guess Seth Rollins made it his life mission to screw over CM Punk. That was wild. And if you listen to his promo from Monday, the way he was acting at Night of Champions actually made sense if you think about it, because they never did go after Cena. So I think he was calling out another ref because, the original ref got knocked out. And I think he was calling another ref because Punk just got put through a table when he was signaling for the other ref to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So neither him nor Bronson Reed or Braun Breaker went to attack Cena. So I thought that was interesting, that promo he cut. And then all hell just broke loose. When Gunther was already out there and Punk them just throwing hands, and then Punk shoved Gunther. So, there's a little seed possibly being planted there where we could get that match maybe at SummerSlam. And now LA Knight's involved he's been involved in the feud. They announced that match between him and Seth, that main event next Saturday. So this actually should be another actual marquee matchup. That's a refreshing matchup, should I say, too, because of the fact that, we all don't want to see Gunther and Goldberg. So at least he's got two characters we were invested in. So you can definitely see that between LA Knight and Seth Rollins, two of the more interesting characters to have right now on television in terms of who the fans are into, for sure. Congrats to Jade Cargill for winning Queen of the Ring. I thought her and Asuka, had a solid match. She still is one of those things. Maybe they didn't want to give them too long. I looked up, I was like, man, this is over already. I mean, I thought they both looked good in the match for sure. From the standpoint that, there was a little bit of concern at some point, when she was, everybody's, that the term quote unquote green, but like I said, I thought it was a solid match. My favorite match of the Night of Champions card was probably Punk and Cena. It just shows you when you have great chemistry with someone that you could bring the best out of them. Also, maybe Cena's getting his feet back into the game type thing, getting his feet wet again, should I say? Because obviously people were very disappointed with that match against Cody at WrestleMania. But I thought Punk and Cena, if I had to rank it, maybe give it like a 7. They've had definitely cooked better than that, but at the same time, it's just like the build up to the feud was so good with Punk, Pride
Yeah.
Bomb being stolen, and then him still in the Thugonomics. I thought that was hilarious. Because some people were wondering if they would have went over better in the States, and I'm like, honestly, they were into it. It's like Punk was getting a lot of heat, backlash about the things he had previously said about the trips to Saudi Arabia, and by the end of that little 5-minute segment of him just rapping, you get to see a Punk chants. Comes out the club personality. They singing the things like very vocally. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so congrats to Tiffany Stratton for retaining the women's championship against Nia Jax. Thought they had a good showing on Friday Night SmackDown. I'm not sure what direction they're going with how they were trying to protect the Wyatt Sixes. Obviously they've been on SmackDown, they haven't been pinned. I know they were pinned at one point in that 8-person tag when they were still on Raw against American Made. So just don't know what direction they're going with that for sure. It looks like Andrade and Ray Phoenix are about to be put together as a team. I'm not mad at that
Mm-hmm.
because, like we said before, we need some people to make that division interesting. If you're going to keep the two, if not you, but if the company's going to keep those two tag teams separated, the tag team championships, with one on Raw and one on SmackDown, and that definitely brings a viable threat to the Street Profits. Some guys I could definitely see them having some chemistry with. And the Profits are kind of in that tweener space right now. The fans are still cheering them, but they're not really doing anything heel. So it's like one of those things too. You could have had that dynamic where, they could play that role if they so choose to officially have them be heels, or if not, because right now they only technically have one heel team that's getting the TV time, DIY, ironically, who lost to Andrade and Ray Phoenix. And I thought that was a hell of a match, probably the match of the night, honestly, on SmackDown for sure. And then a couple of points I wanted to touch on. Oh, Judgment Days won the tag team titles back. That was a little bit of a shocker, considering the fact the direction they looked like they were going, and with them looked like they were trying to split them up. Not to say they can't play hot potato and do something else and get, because if you got the Netflix feed, I don't know if they, Grayson Waller was basically hinting at, praising the New Day, should I say? So who knows? Maybe he gets involved somehow if they get the titles back, and because you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to necessarily keep the titles for long. It could have just been one of those things where they're trying to push the Judgment Day again, or maybe they did scrap those plans because it looked like that they were trying to split them up to a degree, because now you got Roxanne Perez, who's basically just been handed Liv's championship. So,
Mm-hmm.
which is understandable. I thought they would go that route. I don't think they need a whole new tournament, especially because they already kind of put that idea out there that she could possibly be a new member of the Judgment Day. So they did announce that they didn't announce the other three teams involved. They said something about a fatal four-way between them, a team from Raw, team from SmackDown, and a team from NXT at the
Mm-hmm.
all women's event that will be not this Sunday, but next Sunday, July 13th. Uh, Rhea Ripley and EO are going to be, I'm guessing, headlining that, because they already said Jay's getting the title shot at SummerSlam. I had to catch myself. Said WrestleMania. Um, so I'm assuming they will headline for sure.
I wonder will
And
they defend both? You think they'll probably have Tiffany
Tiffany,
defend too?
that's a good question. They could have done that had they not put. I mean, they still could do that, but you know how we feel about a champion after another championship.
Yeah.
Like, is that soon? Because the only person I'm thinking of is Julia. But they could go Chelsea if they do go that route. But yeah, like you said, it couldn't be hard pressed to keep her off an all women's card, considering the fact that they just had her go over,
Yeah.
one of the greatest women's wrestlers in the company's history. So that's a great point. That's the only other person I could see right now on SmackDown. Because Naomi, we've seen that happen before where somebody gets the briefcase and they get a championship match. I'm not big on that, because I remember,
Mm-hmm.
even though that was one of the best matches in 2015, I remember Seth in that triple threat against Cena and Brock. Seth already had the briefcase.
Right.
So, and he didn't. It wasn't an attempt to cash in. This was an actually, not actually an actual pre-planned match in the storyline. So it's just one of those
Right.
things. Um, if they go with somebody else on another brand, that's possible. I don't think it would hurt. For example, Stephanie Vaquer. I don't think it would hurt her to lose to Tiffany.
That's what I was
Um,
thinking. That's what I was thinking because I know
Something
she's
like
been.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think they're limited because they could have just said that it's too little, too late. Now you could have said that last woman standing for Evolution. I think that was so a little surprising they did that because, like I'm saying, I'm trying to think who's on that roster on SmackDown that's a viable threat. Uh, at least it's a heel side. Like I said, other than Chelsea, I don't think they're. I think Zelina's probably gonna have a rematch. That's what I'm saying. That's I don't even think Julia's gonna be an option because I think Julia's gonna get a rematch with Zelina since speaking of what, yeah, Julia's the new Women's United States champion. So,
Right. Say that for
um,
Evolution. Yeah.
yeah, um, they could always bring somebody up from NXT or maybe somebody come back. One doesn't have to win his or her return match. So I
Right.
don't
Right.
know if somebody's injured that they could possibly put in that spot where it's definitely, like I said, it's not going to take away from that person. Because it looks like they're trying to put Alexa and Charlotte together, so they could be the tag team that's part of that fatal four way. They're already hinting that basically Charlotte's hesitant about it, but they're desperately having that storyline going. So I don't think it will be one of them either. Plus, like we said, unless they're gonna put their egos aside, I don't need to see another Charlotte and Tiffany match. I was highly disappointed. I've never been that disappointed in a match that could have stole a show. It
Right.
just was just very discoordinated. And like I said, two of the better women wrestlers on the roster. And it's looking like Bailey. Well, they said Bailey. I didn't get a chance to watch that. Who won that match? I know Bailey. I was gonna say they could have did a triple threat with them and Becky. Um, so I didn't get a chance to finish Raw from Monday, by the way. So, but I'm assuming one of them is getting a title match, if not both of them. I did you get a chance to watch Raw?
So
I got
that
about
that
halfway done with it.
yeah, that match. Well, first off, with Raw, they did something weird this week. I was sitting there, right, and I'm at home. I'm waiting for Raw to come on at 7 p.m. our time, and apparently they had Raw come on this week at
5 o'clock our time.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess they were following the Pacific time this week for whatever reason, and that match ended up in a draw. So
Okay.
they didn't do a winner definitively of that. So it looks like they got Lyra and Bailey kind of like getting ready to go into a feud. I could totally see the triple threat thing happening. Those two versus Bailey, maybe at Evolution. I think
Yeah.
that would
That's
be a
what I'm
good spot for
thinking
that to live.
for
Both mid
sure.
card titles would have a nice placement there, and they got good stories around them right now. You got Zelina versus Julia, like you said, where you got the ex champ versus current new champ, and then you
Right.
have this story that's kind of building right here with Bailey, Lyra, and Becky. I almost said Bailey twice,
Yeah, you did.
but yeah, they did that weird, and I don't know if they even like announced it just so fans would know, at least in the time zone. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because when I cut it on, the main event was on, which was Sami Zayn and
Penta,
Penta versus
Bronson
Braun
Reed, and Braun
Breaker
Breaker.
and,
Yeah.
and Bronson Reed. Yeah, so that was on, and I'm like, okay, I'm thinking this was from last week, and
Yeah.
it was like, no, that's this week's. So I had to rewind and watch it all over again.
Yeah. They did announce it during Crown Jewel. So they announced it a couple times, and then that's another news that's big this week. Going forward, which is fine because it never felt like 3 hours during their whatever reason. I don't know if they're just with the storytelling or what, but SmackDown is going to 2 hours.
Hmm.
Starting this Friday. I didn't like I said, I never really felt like it was a 3 hour broadcast.
They did it pretty good. Like it wasn't bad in that 3 hour. Like
Yeah, there was a
being
couple
show.
episodes,
Yeah.
yeah, but for the most part, yeah. And then we knew that was coming to fruition. What Will mentioned last week, Hikuleo debut, got to touch on
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
So now they're just rebuilding them. I don't know what they're gonna call them. We call it. They gotta come up with a new name other than the Bloodline.
I totally want them to do a new name because
I don't
it's
know
not
what I would.
even.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not going to be even remotely close to what the bloodline was. And is, I guess, still present day.
hmm
So I would totally give them their own name, like just something that's just something generic. While we're talking the mercenaries or something, like
yeah,
just making something that could fit that group. You know what I mean? Because they
yeah.
don't.
No facts. Yeah, it just doesn't. Plus, it's kind of the name itself, as you mentioned earlier, joking about calling yourself a certain. It was like it's kind of run its course.
Hmm.
I don't know if New Japan has Gorillas of Destiny trademark because I know that was the name of Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa's team. That don't mean you can't use it as a stable or change the spelling of it. Maybe
Right.
like maybe Gorillas with an AZ or something like that. Call them
Yeah.
like God Gorillas of Destiny or something like that. I wouldn't, I'd be fine with that for sure. I thought Solo had a pretty funny after post show thing. They kept chanting Yeet. He was like, he's not even here. He was like, 4 words, 1 letter, stop. He even had like Jackie Redmond laugh. He said, okay, that was kind of funny.
Hey, it's been some instances with him, like especially during the little back and forths with him and Jacob Fatu the last
Yeah,
couple of weeks leading up to their match, where he's showing personality, and it's like, yo, you guys had him in this whole enforcer act for
yeah,
this whole time, and he had this kind of personality.
right,
Like they just have to be careful because it's that type of thing where it'll get over. It's just kind of like when Jay was supposed to be the right hand man and he's a heel and
right,
he gets to doing promos and he's getting over in the promos, or you add Sammy to the bloodline and now you got this comedic timing and relief,
right.
and it's just like, oh man, this is actually, you know what I mean? So now you got these
hmm
guys breaking character on TV where they supposed to be, oh, we're supposed to be bad guys, and it's like you can't help but laugh at it because it's like Sammy just doing his thing, and it would have caught anybody off guard. Like you could be
No,
totally
for
in the
sure.
zone, but it's just with some super comedic stuff going on. So they
No,
got to be careful
absolutely.
if they don't want to turn solo anytime soon, because that's kind of what happened with Jacob. Jacob got over. I keep saying it, man. I said it. If I'm Braun Strowman, I might feel a little way about it because they got my man's over when they did that main event match, and they basically
Yeah.
obliterate him. And when the crowd was behind it, one more time, the splash
hmm
off the top rope that he does, and just kept attacking Braun Strowman. It was just kind of like, yeah, this dude, you're not going to be able to hold him in this heel role for too long.
No, for sure. I think that's definitely you hit the nail on the head with that one because it's just and then like his little movement, he be shaking and stuff. I
Yeah,
think that was getting his athleticism for one was getting him over the double jump moonsault, and then just when he got a chance to speak, people started doing the yarrami.
mm-hmm.
It seems like that, but maybe that was already kind of planned. It just happened faster than they intended for it to happen. I think, at least. I do think long term that might have been the plan
Mm-hmm.
because there had to be something different. Like with them branching out from the last bloodline, it's like it took too much for them to branch out, and you don't want to follow that same formula type thing. So it was more organic. And it didn't have to take forever for it to happen, and it was fine that they
Right,
did it that way. I
right.
am interested in seeing where they go with this 4 man. I'm assuming it's going to be 5 man group when Tama Tonga whenever he
By
comes
the time
back.
to come back, yeah,
They could also put them back in the tag division. Him and or they could do a if they put the titles back on them, they could do that Freebird rule with their brother Hikuleo. Because JC, he'll probably be the new enforcer type thing. He'll probably play that role. Um, but one other thing I meant to touch on. Oh yeah, real quick. I kind of praised Punk earlier. I gotta give him wrestler of the week. Like I said, sometimes you gotta swallow a pill you don't want to swallow. And like I said, he definitely won the fans over. I thought that was Cena's best match for sure between the three he's had. Well, the three actual matches, as a singles one-on-one this year. Because the truth match, I'm not gonna really. Those truth matches, I don't know, because they ain't really last too long anyway, right?
how long was the second one? Because I know the
It
first
was
one
a
was only
little bit
4 minutes.
longer. Yeah, it was a little bit longer, but I thought for sure just chemistry wise, like I said, we know they have it, but that doesn't mean that you still have it because it's been 12 years since they had a match, you know,
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
And then the women, I have to definitely thinking about who was I going to give that nod to. It was somebody actually had a good. Oh, it's easy to give it to Rhea all the time. Honestly, I'm gonna give it to her this week from the standpoint that, like, her and Raquel, I said they had to me arguably second best match on the card. I mean, I know that's
Hmm.
debatable between them and Orton and Cody. Once again, congrats to Cody for winning King of the Ring, but and sometimes you just need that partner in there which you had that chemistry with. Like I said, I know they're close off camera because I remember they did the whole segment with her, Bianca, and Raquel all were holding up the titles, kind of like had their click moment almost in a sense.
Yeah,
Even though that was planned, but still, it's just sometimes you have that chemistry with somebody, and I do think at times where there's some Rhea's put in a position where she might not necessarily have the best dance partner to work with her. Sometimes you just don't have the chemistry with other people, but it's just because she's clear head and shoulders above a lot of the talent period, not just in the women's division. But sometimes you just need that person that you click with, and every time they've had the time to actually have good matches, it's gone well. You know that last woman standing match in NXT when Rhea put her over on her way up to the main roster. You know,
yeah, yeah.
so
And I
but
try not to do that. I try not to do that. Compare these things. You know what I mean? When
yeah,
these matches happen to their
yeah.
past work, because I mean, you know, when we talked about it when it happened before, I was
Hmm.
very excited about their match down there in NXT before, like you said, before she came up to the main roster. But it was good to see that, you know, it didn't come as close to that per se, but
No,
it
for
was
sure.
still a pretty decent match. So I was happy to see that.
Right, especially with the time constraints they had too, because I think they went close to 15 minutes, you know, which
Yeah,
is still
yeah,
solid considering the fact that it was, you know, but being a stat card. 'Cause like I said, we were discussing before about Punk and Cena not having that placement on SummerSlam, and like I said, you know, you had them and you had Cody and Randy. You knew they were going to get the bulk of the time, so it was one of those things
right,
where they still got that time to at least tell a decent enough story. Like yeah, like you said, it wasn't to that extent because also I believe that was the main event that night on NXT TV. I could be wrong though. I want to say it might have been, but because there was still a time where it was still like switching away from the black and gold brand, but it was still watchable every week type thing.
yeah. I'm trying to remember because I don't remember if either of them was champion during that feud down there during that particular match.
No, they were because Raquel was there wasn't it was for her. She already walked in as champion because Raquel had beat Io for the title, and then that was like Rhea's swan song in a sense. She didn't. I don't think she had her last match on the Takeover. She had it on NXT TV. It was the last woman standing. I think because Dakota Kai got involved in the match, and she hit that Chiata.
Right. Yeah,
She
yeah.
hit that Chiata bomb like through the stage area,
Mm-hmm.
and that was how she won that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good match though, man.
Yeah, it was.
I would say that's probably um um Raquel's best match, period. Like
Yeah,
if
I
I
would.
sit back and pick one.
Yeah, I would co-sign that. Like at least from a singles perspective, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's had some unfortunate circumstances where she's gone on the injury list too, and she had that unfortunate that also with her the skin issue I think she had too, which put her out on the table or put her off TV for a while.
Yeah, yeah. That was last year, wasn't it? Because it kept her off for a nice
I'm
bit of time.
trying to remember was the last time it was an injury or was it the I just can't remember because I think when that happened she went off TV she was still a baby face and I want to say so maybe that's what they wrote her off TV and they tried to say it was an injury angle. It could have been
Mm-hmm.
that. And maybe that's what it was, but yeah.
Yeah. That's why I say, man, them women tag team titles, they cursed, man, because it seemed like somebody is always getting injured when they're a part of a team that's
Do
holding those titles. So.
do we blame the CEO and proceed with caution for that? Because you know when they just walked out, they left they left a vacancy after WrestleMania 38. I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a trend before that, but I've been saying that you know definitely since then, it's been hard to invest in the teams, but it's also kind of on the booking. You know the roster depth is nowhere near the amount of talent or amount of bodies as the men. It was obviously
Right.
by the numbers. So maybe that's also on the company to say, hey, maybe we don't need an NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. Maybe we just need to put them on kind of how they were doing during the pandemic. Bailey and Sasha went down at some point. I'm trying to remember who else went down there as well.
And that's how
I
I
think the
thought they were
Kabuki
gonna do
Warriors
it.
went down there at one point.
I think Bianca and Jay went down there once.
Yeah, you're right because they faced was it last and who was she teaming with?
Jakara, what was her name?
Oh, Jakara Jackson, I
Jakara
think.
Jackson. Yeah, yeah.
I think they
So
might need to start going back to do that.
they totally do, dude. I think that was just this when they unified them. I thought that's what it was all about. I didn't think it was gonna just live all on Raw,
Yeah,
or all on SmackDown. Like I thought that was the whole point for that. Those women, whoever were holding the championships at that point, were going to be on all three shows. You know what I'm saying? And not necessarily each in every show each week, but at least you would see they could still have like a singles match. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Where it's coming down there in unison, but one person's coming for a singles match, or the
right.
other. You know what I mean? One partner or the other partner, and then or you have them down there facing another tag team, or they coming to watch maybe new. A tag team tournament's taking place, and they're going to watch. You know how they do those little storyboards
Mhm.
where they had them sitting there at commentary and like scoping out the competition, something under that degree, where it just makes sense. And it's also a promotional tactic. I just think it helps to propel those titles when they do that. Same way with now they got a mid card women's championship down there in NXT, but I felt like you could have did that had they just went with maybe one main women's mid card title. Like if let's just say they did the Intercontinental title for all three brands, that could have been another opportunity there to just kind of make sure one person is, you know, being there to help promote, each and every show. But they seem to be making this mid card title thing for the ladies work. I am excited to see. I'm gonna go back and watch the first Evolution because I do want to compare and contrast next week, and also just kind of get myself ready because I do think we're gonna see some surprises. We may see some people return, even if they just come in there just fanfare, or maybe they coming to have a match. I know they said something about the Bella Twins maybe coming back for one final run against each other and as a tag team. uh Ronda Rousey is just one of those people. I don't know if she'll ever come back to wrestling per se, but I wouldn't be mad if she came and actually, cut a promo or did just something for the fans at Evolution 2 to just kind of be like, hey, look, this is how far women's wrestling's come, things of that sort. But I was wondering, and then KG's obviously away from the camera right now, people. So I'm just gonna say to you all, like I was wondering with Naomi having that briefcase, and as Evolution develops, we got one more week so before they put together the actual lineup, and next week is when we'll make the picks for that for the matchup for the match card. But I was just wondering if maybe she'll cash in on any of these particular matches, if they'll keep her as a threat towards Tiffy time, or if they'll maybe have her come and try to cash in potentially on EO, or or maybe just maybe we could maybe see her cash in on the women's champ down there in NXT. Like it's an opportunity to kind of do something different with the briefcase, which we haven't really seen often. And I'm hoping with either one or the other, be it the men's briefcase or the women's, that they may at least tease it. You know what I mean? I highly doubt Seth will go after the NXT championship, but I wouldn't be mad at it either.
Now with Naomi, I just think there's too much going on with that storyline surrounding the five of. Make sure I'm doing my math right. Yeah, the five of them. But her and Jade and Tiffany, and I think they kind of moved Nia on from the championship scene after that last one standing match.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could definitely hit at Io for sure in her title, but I feel like once that cash in happens, it's gonna be on the same brand. Um, and they put it on somebody that really has no ties and nothing going on. Um, but yeah, no. The NXT, I just wouldn't do only because I think Naomi's had so much equity as a veteran. If they
Mm-hmm.
had put that on somebody that was kind of like not had a lot of momentum and like how they put it on Otis that one year,
Yeah.
something like that where you could probably actually benefit that champion from going to NXT and being that face of that company, or at least the head of that division. I'll be honest, since she has too much equity to have her do that. I'm not saying down the line
Mm-hmm.
you never. I'm not saying down the line you never think about that going that route because that's the one thing Becky had never done. And what did they do with her? She went down there and she beat Tiffany Stratton for the
Yeah, they
NXT Women's
yeah, they
Championship.
gave her a run down there. Yeah, yeah.
So there is precedence when you saying that. But I just think with everything going on with Jade, I think it just kind of writes itself for Jade to either get the title or she beats Tiffany up so bad,
Yeah.
at SummerSlam where she's that's the perfect time to cash in. I think the fans will definitely be into it because Naomi got hell of a pop when she got the briefcase in the first place,
Yeah.
and that was in LA, another big market. But I think the East Coast will definitely. It's not about being cheered. She is a heel. I get it. It was more on the line of everything coming full circle for her. We just referenced the tag team title situation from 3 years ago at WrestleMania 38 with her and Sasha ended up leaving the company. So I think fans are just an appreciation of that, of her, because she's definitely, when she was doing her Funko Dapto thing, I mean, she's won the title once or twice since then, the singles championship, but
Mm-hmm.
I think she's kind of earned it. And I think, especially with this heel turn, it's really clicking for people. I think that would be the route they'll go. She still could make an appearance though, for sure, but I think her target's going to be that SmackDown Women's Championship. Who knows? They might throw a wrench in the plans. Who would have thought EO winning the championship on the road to WrestleMania?
Yeah.
So,
And with Night of the Champions, I felt like, because we discussed like missed opportunities before on a prior episode, and I thought with this storyline with her and Jade, with Jade winning the Queen of the Ring during Night of Champions, I thought that was a missed opportunity because you could have kind of kept the fire going. I mean, granted, I guess we see now why it didn't happen with maybe
hmm
Naomi, interfering in that match because you had Seth Rollins interfere in this Punk and Cena
hmm
match. But I was definitely totally looking for that during that moment because I was like, all right, well, Asuka just returned. Not anything against Jade at all, but it's like, okay, with her just returning, you definitely don't want to kill Asuka's momentum.
hmm
Of the two, with her returning, I'd say with Jade having a built-in storyline with the Naomi angle and having Naomi, you know what I mean, kind of distract her and lead to her losing the Queen of the
hmm
Ring match,
yeah,
a finals match. I think that would have been the way to do that because it's storytelling. It's building
hmm
that story, building anticipation of her getting her hands on her again. I mean, she's already had the match, so that's that, but in order to continue that, in order for that to continue churning and getting a fire and a rise under it, same
right.
way it is like with Seth and CM Punk. Like, bro, we'll never get that'll never get old of us.
No, it won't for sure.
It's just one of those. It's like a Triple H and Mankind, Triple H and Rock, Triple H and Stone Cold feud where we saw
hmm
this feud, or Triple H HBK. We saw that feud a million times, but every time we saw it, we were engaged, we enjoyed it, and we were following it. So I thought that was one of the only hiccups I would have did differently with Night of Champions.
hmm
Also, with Cody being the golden boy, I knew Cody was going to win King of the Ring.
hmm
This is a nice little way to get him back in that title picture. I did like the seeds being planted there for Orton maybe turning heel. We saw shades of that I Hear Voices Orton circa, what was it, 2009? Like,
Right.
so I am looking for that turn, and I'm gonna give a hot take right here. I'm gonna say, yeah, I think that turn is happening at SummerSlam. I think he's gonna cost Cody Rhodes the title at SummerSlam, if that's where Cody's gonna have the match at.
Yeah, I could see that too because now that Punk's out of that championship picture, um, and they're trying to elevate Jacob Fatu as a baby face. I could definitely see that because if Cena's doing this, obviously, last real champion thing, he still only has X amount of dates left, even though the year's only halfway over. So you kind of need a top tier feud to kind of keep you interested week by week, should I say? Um, so they go that route for sure. But I'm also wondering. We said that something about this whole Gunther thing leading to Brock possibly coming back. Like I said, we still haven't seen Roman in SummerSlam. Or WrestleMania. I'm thinking he might show up somehow because if you go Punk and Gunther route, then it's obvious that they're really gonna cash in at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
I still think Seth is cashing in at SummerSlam either way, and unless Punk just really wants to get a match with Gunther, which is fine by me because I don't really know how many other Punks we were just talking about who's gonna be opponent for Gunther if it's not Brock. I'm not mad at that at all.
Didn't they have, I want to say, not to cut you off, on the live show run, I
Yeah,
want to say
they did.
they had a match, right? Punk and Gunther?
Yeah, they did. It was like towards sometime in between WrestleMania, I think, and sometime between the Chamber and WrestleMania, I think. I could be wrong, but
I thought it was after Mania, but it could have been before Mania too. I just remember seeing some posts about that on Instagram of them having a match. But I definitely thought it was after.
I think it was before just because they usually around Mania season they don't want to be doing the match they're gonna do at Mania type thing.
Right.
But and then I don't think Gunther was really being I don't think he was being featured that much at live events after he dropped the title. And then they were trying to do that whole angle with Pat McAfee and all that. I don't know about live events what he was doing, but I mean, you could be right. I was like it was later earlier because of the what do you call it? I can't tell. It's based on Instagram's algorithms. It's just I feel like that was a while ago. But I know they did work at live events, so either way for a little bit.
I'm gonna Google it while we're discussing it right quick.
I'm interested in seeing what else they add to Saturday night's main event because.
So it was. You're right. If this is true, according to Google, it says CM Punk and Gunther faced each other in several matches, including the World Heavyweight Championship match at a WWE live event in Amsterdam, March 30th, 2025. They said they also had a steel cage match at WWE Holiday Tour live event in Chicago. And that one also was for the heavyweight championship. So this was right before they took the title off Gunther and they put it on Jay. So
right.
yeah.
So like 3 weeks ago, take. Yeah, I'm also interested to see what they add else. What else they add to Saturday night's main event? Cause you probably gotta add a few more matches on that card. Probably get some type of match involved with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker against some probably tag match or something. I'm just trying to think what else they could fill that card with because Great American Bash being also that same day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Evolution the day after. I'm trying to think who else you could book to fill that card. I only got about a little over a week, so I'm just thinking who else could be added. They probably add Dom and AJ, assuming Dom gets cleared by then.
Yeah, that part of the storyline, they'll probably clear it so he can have that match.
I'm just trying to think what else you fill that card with, and then maybe you get a tag title match, maybe a SmackDown tag title match.
On a pay-per-view, one can only
No,
imagine
no, I
or
said on
hope.
I said on main. No, I said on main event.
Okay.
Because I just think what they can fill that card with, since it's about 10 days away, give or take less than 10 actually. Well, no, I think exactly 10. Today's the second on Saturday, so just trying to think what they would, who else be added to that. To
Well, main event's only like it's what 2 hours, 2 hour show, 2 hour
I
program.
think they still do about 4 matches. So I'm saying you got LA
Yeah.
Knight and Seth, and you got Gunther and Goldberg, and technically those are both. Well, no, that's a crossover because LA Knight's technically on SmackDown brand. I would just think
Mm-hmm.
what if the two matches they could fill that card with. That's all. You could, because they're not really doing anything with Jay. You could bring him back into the fold. Maybe you do Sammy and Jay versus uh, Bronson and Braun, something
Yeah,
like
I could,
that.
I could
Or
see that. Or Penta and because well they just did that with the on Monday. I was gonna say you could probably get the rematch of that, but they lost, so you could go Jay and Sammy versus Bronson and Braun and do it that way because I do think that's gonna eventually be the tag team, especially with the new stable being formed. I
right.
was wondering though, would it look like A Town Down Under possibly getting ready to split or have split? I've seen them like in the background, like having little disputes on
Hmm.
on Raw during segments. I'm wondering. You were talking about Balor and what's my man name? He won the titles with
JD.
JD. Um, I'm just sitting here waiting for Judgment Day to like split and let's get a Balor Club finally. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they had the shirts, they never did it. You know what I'm saying? I would really like to see a Balor Club run where he just breaks off, does his thing as the Prince again. Like, because he was on the tear, man. When he was down at NXT as the Prince, oh my God, you talking about some good wrestling. Every Wednesday, you were in for a treat, man. But I feel like I don't want to say wasted because it's like okay, they put the title on him, so that guarantees him television time, you know what I mean, every Monday on Netflix. Um, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee him time on these pay-per-views and just giving him the visibility he deserves. Because I'm like, yo, the clock is ticking for everybody, and he's not a old guy, but he's not young either. So it's just kind of like this is prime time, like you know, uh, uh, um, Finn Balor that we could be getting in, and we just not seeing it right now. So I was just wondering. I was like, when they put those titles on them again, and I said, yeah, JD McDonough. I said Finn Balor. I said when they added JD, I started thinking it. Then I was like, I wonder if they're gonna finally do this Balor Club thing. You know what I mean, or just a the club, whatever. You know what I mean, to
Hmm.
kind of finally have that presence in WWE because the Judgment Day. I mean, what's your thoughts on Judgment Day? Because wow, they were successful. Rhea got the women's championship, obviously. Damian got the men's championship, obviously. But they shortly after, left the Judgment Day. Damian and Finn held tag team gold. You got Dom now with the IC title, so it's just kind of like the group itself has been successful, but is it really getting over? And that's my thing with when it comes to that. So what are your thoughts?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I'm ready to see Finn get a run, but I'm not sure if it's in the cards anymore right now, at least. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they just didn't go with the split, but I think nowadays it's one of those things. They got so many people that they just signed. They might want to utilize them as single stars. So definitely trying to protect Penta to a degree.
Yeah.
I don't think think Sammy hasn't had his run yet. I don't know if they're gonna actually give Sammy that actual run, but yeah,
It's
I'm
early,
not
but
opposed to it at
but
all.
but
I would definitely like
it's
to see
early.
Finn get a push. So
Yeah, I was gonna say it's early, but Sammy's definitely a dark horse. I'm not gonna say a dark horse favorite. I'm gonna say Sammy is my favorite as long as he's healthy to win the Royal Rumble next year. So that's quite a hot take, but that's where I'm going with it. I think we could totally see. uh, Sammy win it at the Royal Rumble, and they'll go bonkers. They'll go bonkers.
Nah, for sure.
All right. So I got the good sources of Wikipedia up to try to see what some of these matches for Great American Bash with NXT and AEW's All In Texas pay-per-view that should be coming up next week. So we can just kind of touch on those things. Was it anything from AEW you wanted to bring up or mention? Dynamite was tonight. I don't know if you had a chance to watch Dynamite all the way through or not. Look like KG having some technical difficulties there. So, people, I will continue while KG is getting this thing together. All right. I got a hot take for y'all. All right. So I was sitting back chilling, watching NXT last night, and I had the thought. I was watching Wes Lee's match, right? And I said, yo, it may be a stretch. It may be a stretch. And I'm gonna ask KG when he comes back too, if he agrees with me or not. But I was watching NXT and I said, when it comes to Wes Lee, when it comes to when certain people are released, they're not re-signed, they choose to, become free agents, etc. I was thinking about Ricochet, right? And I said, Wes Lee being a solid hand, can do the things that Ricochet does. He's not now. I'm not trying to sit there and say Wes Lee is Ricochet and Ricochet is Wes Lee, but he brings a level of excitement to his matches in that form that Ricochet could, same way. And I was just wondering, was WWE okay with letting go of Ricochet just because they got people in the stable like a Wes Lee who could be utilized in that same form and fashion? And I think it might not be a stretch here to say this, what I'm getting ready to say, y'all, but y'all bear with me. Y'all let me know if y'all want to in the comments or whatever. Wes Lee's a better mic on the mic than Ricochet too. So do you agree? Like, you got guys like Wes Lee, you got guys like what's my man name? Carmelo Hayes, you know what I mean? That could fit that skill set, that could fit that place that Ricochet had. Do you agree that WWE is kind of like, you know what? We got these younger guys that could go a little bit longer than you do, buddy. Hey, you're not future endeavored, but we wish you the best of luck. So I was just wondering that on my hot take ish. But yeah, Wes Lee was facing Joe Hendry on Tuesday's NXT, and them putting him in one of those style matches with somebody like Joe Hendry. KG, I'm gonna bring it to you. I was just finishing the point up for the people that's watching while you was gone. I had quite the hot take. So I was talking about Wes Lee. Wes Lee had a match on NXT against Joe Hendry on Tuesday. And the thought process I had here was, if you're WWE, right, and it's like, why would WWE be so comfortable in letting go of a guy like Ricochet, who's quite a talent? You know what I'm saying? The fans love him. He didn't get the push everybody desired for him to have in WWE. But if you're WWE and you got Wes Lee, you got Carmelo Hayes, they in the stable, they ready to go, they locked and loaded to put right in that place and play that same particular kind of role because the skill sets are kind of similar. Does that make it a lot easier to just kind of let some guys go? Like what do you think about that?
I think it makes it easier if they don't really stand out outside of their ability to wrestle. Like I think Ricochet has showed more personality on AEW TV, but I still think he has the same ceiling there because somehow you got to do something to distinguish yourself from other people. I think Carmelo, I see a little bit of a difference. I think he has more personality, so I could see them pushing him if he got some people around him. I don't like, we don't always like to go to Shawn and Diesel route, but I could definitely see that. But yeah, it definitely makes it more difficult if you don't develop a connection with the fans so they can actually invest and push you type thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm waiting. I'm waiting on Wesley to finally touch the NXT championship too. Like it's one of those things where I'm just kind of like he's been around long enough. He's tenured long enough. It's about that time for them to go ahead and put the rocket on him completely. He showed his hand as the North American champion. He showed his hand as a tag team champion down there. So yeah, only thing left for him to do down there is become NXT champion. So
Nah, for sure.
that's
Well,
all
I mean,
right.
especially if they're not going to call him up either. I'm not saying he's going to be pigeonholed down there forever, but it would behoove them to probably do that at least something different. Slash, she's put in the work down and build up the equity for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, let's see. AEW. Is it anything before I just kind of go through this the all in 2025 card, what's listed so far on Wikipedia as far as matches are concerned? Is it anything storyline wise you want to touch on, Pauls, before we get into that a little bit?
No, not really. I mean, I don't because right now I haven't really got a chance to look at a lot of AEW recently, and I know the official card is not to. I think we'll be recording again by next week though. So
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's not till the 12th, so I don't know. It's up to you if you want to. I don't really think anything is happening recently where I think, you know, I think it's kind of been the same the last few weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think anything new is developed. Where I'm trying to think what to touch on about AEW right now.
Yeah.
They just announced that Moxley and Heyman's gonna be a Texas Death Match, so that kind of leaves it open ended for some chicanery for sure. But also makes sense for Mox to lose the title that way because you know he's not gonna lose it clean either way. Well, you know what I mean? Like he's gonna be somebody involved somehow, some way. So that kind of
Right.
makes sense that they announced the Texas Death Match.
For sure, for sure. So yeah, man, I'm just gonna mention a couple of these matches. We're not gonna make any picks tonight, but we will just to give people an idea of what to expect at All In 2025. That's gonna be in Texas. I believe it's in Arlington, Texas, this year. Let me go so I can fact check. I'm on Wikipedia. I'm trying to check right now just to make sure. Yeah, it's in Arlington, Texas at the Globe Life Field. So what they have on Wikipedia listed so far, Timeless Tony Storm versus Mercedes Monet. As you just mentioned, John Moxley versus Adam Hangman Page, Texas Death Match. Okada versus Kenny Omega. Excuse me. Winner takes all unification match for the AEW Unified Championship. This is the inaugural unification of those particular championships. Then we're gonna have the men's casino gauntlet match for the opportunity to face the AEW World Heavyweight Champion in the championship match, and then there'll be the women's casino gauntlet match to have the opportunity to face for the AEW Women's World Championship. So outside of that, it looks like on a tag team match side of things, we got Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay versus the Young Bucks. And there is a stipulation. It says if Ospreay and Strickland lose, they cannot challenge for the AEW World Championships for 1 year. If the Young Bucks lose, they will be stripped of their executive vice president titles. So that's pretty interesting. That's
That
some new
is.
stuff.
And also, I'm wondering because their contracts can be treated like a Money in the Bank, so I'm wondering if that would suck to have Heyman drop that championship that fast. But I'm wondering if they're gonna use that as an opportunity for somebody to cash in. I could definitely, I could see that happening to Tony more so than them though. I don't know who will be put in that position if Mercedes doesn't take the title off of her. I'm just trying to think who they've been pushing lately in the women's division that they could use that angle where they could cash in that same night that they won Casino Gauntlet.
Yeah, the entrants have not been announced yet, so that we kind of got to
Yeah, because they had Christian do it last year, but then he he turned it to the triple threat, then Moxley choked him out. So
yeah. And that's the other part of that. I don't really like when they squander things like that because it's like, yo, those things should be kind of like, all right, if we're gonna put this briefcase on this person or this contract opportunity on this person, yeah, we should totally see them, changing hands possibly. I don't mind it always not being a successful cash in.
Yeah.
That's just making it realistic, but more times than not, you should definitely get the opportunity to see, these people successfully, win via their briefcase or their contract opportunities.
Well, yeah, that was
Uh,
the first time I think they actually had utilized it though in AEW though, so maybe they just didn't want to be accused of copying that same formula where it's normally successful type thing. It could have been that.
yeah. But on the WWE side of things for NXT's Great American Bash, thus far, we still got some time for the matches to, be announced completely. Right now, they just got 3 on Wikipedia. We got Obafemi versus Yoshiki Inamura for the NXT Championship. We got Jordan Grace versus Blake Monroe. No, wait, excuse me. Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe versus Fatal Influence as a tag team match announced so far, and Sol Ruka versus Easy Dane for the North American Championship down there. So that's what they got so far. So we'll see what happens with the rest of that card. I know Slammiversary for TNA is supposed to be happening July 19th, I want to say. So I really quickly want to touch on that because I think Swerve is Swerve shit. Trick Willie, aka Trick Williams, is going to defend the TNA Championship versus Joe Hendry and what's my man name from I stopped in like mid sentence. I'm sorry. Mike. Is it Mike Santana?
Yeah.
So he's gonna face against those in a triple threat match at Slammiversary. So yeah, no, Sunday, July 20th. Excuse me. Did I say what date did I say?
I think you said the 19th, but yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you got Trick Williams versus Joe Hendry versus Mike Santana. That's triple threat for the TNA Championship so far. You got Moose versus Leon Slater. That's going to be for the TNA X Division Championship. And you got the Nemeths, Nick Nemeth and Ryan Nemeth versus the Hardys versus the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz versus First Class, AJ Francis and KC Navarro. 4-way tag team ladder match for the TNA World Tag Team Championship. So I know we don't always cover TNA on Hot Take, but so far that card looks pretty good. It's definitely worth a gander. I am hoping via this partnership, relationship, whatever you want to call it, between WWE and TNA, maybe we could kind of start seeing some of their stuff on Peacock and via the WWE network or Netflix via that relationship. You know what I mean? Just to kind of give a little more visibility. I'm under the impression that TKO owns TNA anyway. Y'all know I've been saying that for a while now. But to finally see that maybe come to, be actually formally announced, I think it's about that time. But yeah, outside of that, man, that's pretty much all I have for this week, bro. Is it anything else you feel like we need to touch on before we get up out of here for the night?
No, I don't think so. I think we hit the nail on the head for most of this stuff that at least happened this week because it's technically the middle of the week. It's still got a lot of content. I mean, I don't think SmackDown is still going to air, honestly, because it's the 4th on Friday, so that is still going to be broadcasted. I was just double checking because although they never really canceled, I don't think for any reason on the 4th of July if they went on the time
or any other holiday for that matter. Yeah,
they'll do a recap on New Year's Eve if it falls on that. Mm-hmm. I think like a year in review. I think if it falls anywhere within those, like, I think anytime after Christmas, if that last one falls the day after Christmas, I think they might broadcast or a day or two. But I feel like if it's close to New Year's Eve, they don't do a live broadcast because they start doing that day one.
Yeah. And they won. I think did they want to come back this year, or did they say it's coming back
I think they
2026?
said it's coming back this year because it will fall on a Thursday. So
Okay.
maybe it won't then. I don't know. We ought to do a premium live event on a Thursday. And I'm saying they have to stick to formulas for a specific day,
Yeah,
but
because we've seen them do stuff in the past. What was that? They did Cyber. What was it, Cyber Tuesday or something like that? Something crazy.
yeah, right, way back in the day, I remember that 'cause they did the three. They did, I think, one point. I would think it was like Booker T versus Big Show versus like John Cena.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, well, good people. I want to thank y'all for tuning in this episode. Let me go ahead and put that up there right now. You can always follow Hot Take Wrestling at TikTok. On TikTok, I could say rather. I should say rather. I can't speak. Trying to wrap this up. At Hot Take Wrestling. You can find us on Instagram, of course, at Hot Take Wrestling. You can find us on the artist formerly known as Twitter, also known as X now, at Wrestling Take. Good folks of Twitch, you guys can follow us and support us at Hot Take Wrestling Podcast. And as always, on YouTube TV, we are on NMG TV, part of the NMG Podcast Network. All righty. So outside of that, man, we'll catch up with y'all
Oh,
next.
one less nugget. I remember that too. So that lets you know whoever's title was on the line is probably gonna go over. Because I think the fans voted for Booker T championship to be on the line. He was the world heavyweight champion. Like I said, Big Show's ECW champion. John Cena was WWE champion.
Mhm.
I think that was like Cyber Tuesday or something.
I
So
remember that, and I remember
yeah,
they used to do the little Wheel of Fortune little
yeah,
thing. Yeah. So but all right, good people. Nice little look. I don't know what to call it. We're down two good people. It's holiday weekend. I just want to tell y'all be safe. You know what I'm saying? Drink responsibly. Enjoy some good barbecue and the fireworks. Happy birthday to the United States, the USA, July 4th weekend. Yeah, and we're gonna be back next week, next Wednesday, to talk more wrestling with y'all. All right. So signing off, it's your boy, Love Live Life. It's your boy,
peace,
Old
love, and
Man Logan.
soul,
Peace, love,
and
and
all
soul.
that.
Kung Fu Kenny. You enjoy yourself, brother. Not too much ginger beer and whiskey, okay, my friend?
You got it. All
All
right,
right
brother.
now.
All right,
Y'all take
see
it
ya.
easy. Peace.